Hi folks, how you doing? Another eBay purchase. This is a Hornby LMS class 4P462T locomotive in lined maroon livery. This was advertised on eBay as being in pretty much mint condition, and having spent most of its life in a display cabinet. Kind of makes me a wee bit worried if it spent most of its life in a display cabinet, why? But anyway, let's have a look. Tell you what, get my glasses on. It's boxed and it has the detail pack, and it's apparently in excellent condition. So let's open it up and see what we've got. Just now, and we've got the locomotive operation and maintenance. God, it's a year since I've had one of these. Yeah, it's the XL3 motor. I'm pretty sure it's the XL3 motor. So this was made sometime in the 1980s, and there she is. Isn't that a beautiful thing? It's a really, really nice locomotive, and we've got the little detail pack there. It's got the little pipes and the drivers. So let's take it out and have a little look. So considering this was made, way back in the 1980s, it really is in remarkable condition. So the eBay description was accurate. The fact it's got the XL3 motor in it, I'm quite happy with, because that's a serviceable motor. The Type 7 motor that came later in the 1990s, it runs out. You have to replace the motor, you can't service it. I've been reading up, I've been catching up on things since I left the hobby in the 70s. Let's go and see if this actually goes on the layout. I'd be very surprised if it doesn't, but let's go see. So it works in both directions fine, but it is noisy. It's clearly needing a service and a good bit of lubrication. But as you can see, just look at it close up here, absolutely pristine condition. So very, very pleased with that. So let's service it. Okay, I've got the service sheet for this. It's service sheet number 122. I don't think I'll need it, but just in case something is a bit weird. So this has a screw at the end there and a couple of lugs at the front, which is kind of sort of standard for that era. So we shall undo this screw and see what happens. Right, that should just hopefully come off. The good old XL3. So I'm not going to strip this, completely. I just want to give it a fairly basic service. Just lubricate it. I'll check the magnet and just make sure it's working as well as it can be. But it's certainly very clean. There's not much in there. I would like to get this off. So, right, okay, I don't want to damage anything, so I'm going to have a look at the service sheet here. Blah blah blah, this will be part L5268. The chassis and underframe clip fit together. To dismantle, insert a small screwdriver at the front end and ease under frame off clips. Right, okay, small screwdriver under front end. I don't like things that clip together. I really, really don't. I don't like that at all. But there's the front bogie off. Because I really want to get into this to lubricate it. Oh, jeez. Right. It actually comes off with the... Oh, crikey. Right. Get rid of that bogey now. Blimey. So can I extract those contacts? The pickups. Yeah. So that comes out there like that. And that comes out there like that. And of course it's all connected to the valve gear. So can I, there we go, there we go. Blimey. Don't want to do that too often, but I've had to do it so I can get into the bearings and everything else for the wheels. And I'm pleased to say that there are brass bearings in there. Don't know if you can see. So that's good. Screw at the rear, and that should just lift out like so. Right, brushes. Yeah, there's a wee bit of wear in them, so this engine has been run. Insulator all looking pretty good. So what I want to do is get this rear plate out. It means taking the magnet out, which I don't like doing, especially when it's in working order like that. But it's the only way to get into to grease that bearing, because that's where a lot of the noise will be getting generated. The only way to lubricate the front bearing would be to take the gear off, and I don't have a worm puller at the moment. I'm going to get one because I'm going to need that to fix the Flying Scotsman. But at the moment I'm just going to try and get some oil in there. But I really want to get some grease into this bearing at the back, so we shall remove the magnet. Keep that there. And then this will let me prise this open and get this rear plate out to give it a clean and get some grease in there. And I'm also going to take the brushes out. Come on, just fall out, just come out. And I'll give them a clean, and we shall clean the armature. Not the armature, the commutator. I will do that right now, because it's actually quite dirty. So yeah, there's a bit of mileage in this locomotive. It's not just been sat on a shelf for all its life, it has been used. Now we'll get some oil into the front bearing. Just going to go in just in here, and I'm just going to get some oil just behind the gear there. It's a nice easy motor to work on this, but I'd say that front bearing does annoy me. Right, okay, let's just tighten it up a bit, keeping the clip in place. I'm going to clean where the brush comes into contact with the clip, as well as the brush itself. And always make sure that the spring clip for the brushes is, is nice and wide apart. You want good tension on the brush. I've had locomotives slow down on me and stop because there wasn't enough tension on the brush. I don't want to take them right out because it would mean disassembling all the linkages. So I think we'll just oil it. I would quite like to grease it, but I'm just going to oil it. It's all fairly clean. Okay, I'm just going to make sure I've got oil all the way around the gear. You maybe think I'm over oiling it, but no, I'm not. Right, let's put this back in. Where's the little, there's two little lugs that clips into the front like so. Okay, now we have to fit these pickups back into position in this thing, which was a laugh getting off, and hopefully it'll be fairly straightforward to get back on. Like so. I don't want to clip it too tight into place because I've got to get my bogies and everything back in place. So the front bogie goes in there, and the rear one like so. Now it's one of these things that just sort of clips in, and once it's there, it's there. Don't like that though, that's, Jesus, that's not something you want to do an awful lot. I dare say you'll kind of get the hang of it once you've done it a few times, but that's a fiddle. Righty-ho, let's oil up the linkages. And we don't want to over oil these. This is where you hear people talk about pinpricks of oil. Yep, that fit on at the front. So line them up, and then it should. So here's a little trick: a tiny wee bit blue tack in the slot of the screw. And there you go, you can hold the screw. So there we go, that's it serviced. You know, fairly standard XO3 motor service, nothing unusual, but this is a whole experience on its own. This, what do they call it on the service sheet? The underframe part, L5268. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, let's go and see if this works. Okay, so I ran it there and it's still running quite noisy, and I also noticed the slow speed performance was very, very poor, and that it was running a little bit hot. So I've taken the magnet out. I mean, the magnet seems quite strong, but I don't think it's strong enough. I don't have a remagnetizer, so I've put a neodymium in. I don't think that's going to make it any quieter, but I think it'll certainly improve the slow speed performance. The noise is kind of making a very similar noise to the Flying Scotsman that I have. I mean, it's the same motor, essentially. I'll probably fiddle about with it more. I mean, this should be quieter than it is. I'm pretty sure the noise is coming from the front bearing. Okay, so let's try this again. Just going to try the slow speed first of all. That's a lot better. Speed it up now. Right, as a wee experiment, I've swapped the motor with my IVIC class locomotive, because I've got my IVIC class locomotive to run very, very quietly, and I'm just wondering if it is the motor or if it's something else. So I've swapped the motors over, put that there just now, and let's just see if this runs any better. Oh, look at that. That's how it should be. Okay, that's very interesting. So it is the motor. Just out of interest, let's put the IVIC class chassis back on. Now this If this is quiet, I'll be very puzzled. Yeah. Actually doesn't sound too bad. Yeah, not too bad, but it is definitely noisier. So that's very interesting. I think the problem is the front bearing. It may be, because I was wondering if it was maybe something to do with the way the worm was sitting on the, the worm gear was sitting on the cog, if the gears weren't meshing quite right. But I don't think swapping the motors would indicate that. So I'm pretty sure this bearing is worn. So until I can get a pinion removal tool, which I've ordered, and get this bearing out and have a look, there's not much I can do about that. I have the same problem with my Flying Scotsman. It's just impossible to make it run quietly. So we'll do some experiments with that once I get my pinion removal tool. So I'm going to leave the motor swapped over because I would rather this locomotive run quietly than the IVIC class, because I imagine I'll be running this locomotive a lot more. And, as I say, we'll do some experiments on the motor. I may even try some replacement motors. I'm aware there are alternatives to the XO3, so I might have a look at that. Anyway, okay, let's hook this up to some coaches. So there is my Hornby R055 LMS Class 4P264T locomotive, running nice and quiet and smooth now, so very pleased with that, but some work to do on my IVIC class and Flying Scotsman. There's an interesting problem there to solve. But till the next time, folks, see you later.